Hey everybody, welcome to this panel on AI, ROI in practice. So to start off the panel, why don't we do a quick introduction of our background and our current role, and we can keep it tight, maybe 30 seconds. Sudipto, why don't we start with you?
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Sudipto Ghose. I lead the internal data analytics and AI for Equifax. I've been doing that for last six years and have been successful in creating the data platform that today the AI needs. So we'll talk more about it, but go ahead, Mustafa.
Yeah, I'm Mustafa. I lead data science and analytics for customer experience at the Home Depot, which has a few different post-purchase and contact center responsibilities.
That's great. Hey everybody, I'm Shashank Kadetotad. I lead the enterprise data science and AI team for Mars Wrigley. And for those of you who don't know about Mars, think Snickers, think M&M's, Skittles, so on and so forth. All right, so thanks for the introduction. So let's start off with an interesting question. What's the most important thing to measure when evaluating AI ROI? And we'll start with you, Mustafa.
Yeah, for me, I would say that the most important thing to measure is the impact on the business OKR that the AI initiative is meant to support. And of course, how do you measure that is the question. So generally, you look for a measurable metric that's as close to impact on that outcome as possible, and kind of make sure that you're not really measuring just the impact of AI, but you're measuring the impact of AI as a facilitator of the business outcome that is meant to support.
Got it.
Yeah,
so
I would actually agree quite a bit with him. And for us, there are two parts to it. One is serving the internal enterprise with better data, better automation. And with that automation, how AI and Gen AI can help things like forecasting to scale or anomaly detection to scale, which was never done before that well. So with the tool set coming together, with all this security and the governance and all of that, it's also a measurable goal. Like, are we secure? Are we delivering something that is palatable to the board? So those kinds of discussions are also part of the measurement process. So that's one part. The other part is the product side of the story, is where, can we make products in the company which are serving with AI to scale, to bring a lift in the revenue cycle. So those discussions are on, and we are kind of evaluating that, and those are obviously a discussion with the board and the CEO of the company.
Yeah, I think great points. Exactly, right? Aligning as much as you can with the business OKRs, so you're adding value to the immediate use case that you're working on. And then your product perspective makes a lot of sense as well. And the way I think about it, there's also something to be said about bringing together capabilities, right? So when we are, because you can think of it as two ends of a spectrum, right? At one end, you're focused on certain business outcomes or certain business outputs that you enable through AI, and that's well and good. But then there comes a time where you need to be able to think about scalability. And this is more a tech conversation than a business conversation. Then you need to think about infrastructure and then the cost involved in running, operating, and maintaining said infrastructure models, so on and so forth, right? So any opinions on that side of the fence?
You want to take that? Absolutely. So scale is a very important discussion. So when we talk about these kind of utilities or toolbox, AI toolbox, or AI products, which is going to help the enterprise, whether it is the accounting organization or the finance organization, trying to close their books, trying to understand what went wrong. So all of these are very high-speed activity when it comes to the end of the month or end of the quarter. How can AI kind of help that? That is something that is a scale discussion. So that's one part of the scale discussion. The other part is the horizontal scaling of the toolbox. within the workspace, right? Everybody is doing summarization of some kind, right? I mean, they are summarizing data sets, spreadsheets, or notes, things like that. So how do we make more and more tools available so that a broader set of users, whether it's in the sales or HR or somebody, can start using that with their own life to scale, kind of thing.
Yeah, I can add a bit to that. So it's I'll just say this in a different way. Like, and generally when we discuss this at teams, like I generally say that I want to avoid working on step 0 and step 1 every time we're executing or working towards a use case. So to me, step 0 is having access to the right data signals that need to power a use case, and then step 1 is having them stitched to the right, identifiers like a customer and so forth, and then being able to model them. So in order to execute a use case, if you have to start every time from step 0, you're not going to be able to scale. Because on the business side, what we want to do is move and test faster. So everything that you guys are saying, absolutely, I'm on board with. And that is a technical conversation, but likely independent of a single use case, but more at a like larger strategic kind of mandate behind that. Yeah.
Precisely. Great points. All right. So how do you connect AI outcomes to bottom line business value? Sudipto, do you want
That's
to
a tough one. Can you take
Sure, no problem. Yeah, I think this question is similar to the earlier question in a way, right? Like, how do you connect? Obviously, first and foremost, you need to make sure that, the actual hypothesis or the outcome that is being identified to support with AI is measurable in itself. And if that is not measurable, we have to start there. Right? Because if you say, hey, you know what, I want to impact our customers and do something that to make, let's say their returns experience in e-commerce better. Okay, what does that really mean? What part of the return experience? So until you define the metric, or again, going back to the OKRs that you're looking to impact, you can't really measure the impact of AI because AI is a means to an end. It's not an end in itself. So any use case then of AI then needs to be as any metric to measure that use case needs to be as closely associated with that OKR, like I was saying earlier, as possible, so that we know that a positive impact on the metric that the model or the AI or whatever application of data science or AI there is actually any change there is directly improving the metric that is supposed to support from a business perspective. That's what I would say to that.
Yeah, I'm totally agree. So I'll go a little bit deeper in taking some examples, right? So what do we mean by how do we measure, right? I'm a guy who in favor of measuring, when we are writing the stories, the AI stories, like, what are the goals, what is the outcome, how are we going to measure the success? Okay, success is this. And success can be written in a very high level. And that is what sometimes I don't like. It has to be something that you can correlate to the results when it comes out, right? So taking an example, say all of us have some kind of, in our companies, we have dispute resolution. Like you're going to have billing resolution, billing dispute resolution, those kind of things. And trust me, there is a lot of human beings involved in resolving disputes. Right? And there are dispute cases. The number of cases per month or per week is measurable. So we take those kind of things and see where AI can help and whether the dispute resolution time goes down, time to a resolution. So those kind of things is what we are looking at. And that's number one. Number two is we are giving them chatbots to resolve their cases. Instead of raising a case, they're resolving their own case. And if there is something else left, bring another human in the loop. So we operate human in the loop with another human in the loop. But between the two human in the loop, bring a machine, an AI in the loop. Resolve it, go faster. Those kind of measurements are big possibilities in the company. So
Great examples. And well said as well, Mustafa, right? I think it's important to think about AI as a means to the end than doing AI for the sake of AI, right? And We are currently in a hype cycle where it's easy to fall into that trap. So
Yeah, I have one, after you, I have one more point to make about this question. Yeah, so I think
Go for it.
there's another way of thinking about it, is there's like your performance metrics, and then there's your optimization metrics, and they're not necessarily the same. So we discussed this team. So going back to how do you measure AI, you may have optimization metrics that are, in search, for example, you have different optimization metrics, and in a supply chain, you may have different. But at the end of the day, the relation between what you're optimizing for and what you're targeting for performance needs to be clear. And this is a way of kind of easily explaining that the two need to be related, but they don't need to be the same.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, just pulling a thread from the previous question, right? So you will have business metrics, which are the end goal, absolutely. But there's also these technical metrics that help create a guardrail of sorts and a boundary of sorts, right? Which helps kind of not only make it scalable and viable, but also making sure that you can then operationalize it efficiently. All right. So great points. Yeah. So next question I have is, what trade-offs do you consistently manage between speed, accuracy, and cost? I'll give you guys a bit of a break on this one. I'll start off. For me, I think the approaches are slightly different. One, I think, just building a bit on our last conversation, there is an element of making sure that the problem statement is explicit and crystal clear, right? And from there, the whole solution design kind of flows in, and then you decide, what kind of models, whether there's a generative AI, LLM element to this versus not, or a traditional AI, for the lack of a better word, so on and so forth. So now, when we think about a solution from a traditional AI approach, right, there is absolutely a whole way of optimizing depending completely on the use case, right? In some cases, latency is super critical or speed is super critical. In some cases, it's all about accuracy. In some cases, you can get away, or 80% accuracy is good enough, or 75% accuracy is good enough. In some cases, precision is super critical. So all of this, I think, factors into the cost bit, but we constantly have to manage from a ML ops standpoint between these parameters. But when it comes to, I think, generative AI, right, especially the expectation that has been set, I think, from the consumer world versus the enterprise world, right? The consumer world, I think, is a lot ahead, right? That's D2C. From a generative AI standpoint, almost everything is optimized for latency. And so with that aspect, when you look at it within an enterprise, if you can get an answer within a few seconds from a chat GPT, and you have your internal chatbot, you don't have the luxury of taking more than 5 seconds to answer a complex question, right? So at least the way I think we are planning to address this is to kind of really lean into the speed aspect of it, right? And then with speed, as we look at scale, start thinking of how we can optimize for cost. I'd love to hear your perspective. Sudeep, we can start with you.
Sure, I'll go first. So, cost is something that at every aspect of your technical instrumentation, we have to look into it. We have to look into the architecture to make sure we have the right architecture, then the right components of cloud, and the price points behind the components of the cloud. And those cloud costs are going up and down. We all know that. So whoever is doing FinOps, they know that cloud cost has to be monitored. And wherever the cloud cost is shooting up or down, we have to understand. And with AI, things have become much more amplified because you have LLMs running, you have tokens running. You don't know how many tokens have been consumed by what prompt or what query. So it has to be monitored. So leaving aside the cost part, let's talk about the accuracy piece of it and the speed. In my opinion, there's a difference between the robotic, the RPAs, the robotic automation that we did. That was more about accuracy. Whatever we are doing, I think it is rule-driven, rule-based. If the data set is good, you're going to do faster automation at a cheaper price and all that, right? But with the LLMs, I think the accuracy can go up, but with a lot of training, a lot of practice, a lot of understanding of the problem statement, the prompts, and all that. So if at this point, I think we are ready to go with, say, a metric, whatever the metric is, say 90% accurate, right? And if 10% is not good, we give a thumbs down and move on, right? But the 90% benefit that we got from, like you said, the 5-second benefit, like, we are expecting the answer like the way we are talking, right? Our chatbot is supposed to chat with us in 3, 5, 7 seconds to give us an answer. We see the chat GPT giving us answer. Okay, you ask a complex question, it will take probably 15 seconds. But if it's more than that, you're going to be impatient. So, but if are the answers perfect, ChatGPT today? No, they're not, right? I mean, there are, depending upon what you ask and what context you have set. So accuracy is a question, but I think 95%, if you can measure that accuracy by thumbs up and thumbs down, you're going to be satisfied. I mean, that is an SLA that we are trying to hit,
Very
Mustafa?
interesting. Mustafa?
Yeah, I will say, so I'm aligned with each of you, just probably gonna share the same perspective, but with a different lens. So to me, there's two key things here. One is, what is the nature of the use case? And then the second is that what stage of the life cycle that use case is in. So as an example, on one side, you're using AI, even Gen AI or any other technology to build insight around, let's say, a marketing campaign. To me, that is the level of accuracy required. The threshold of accuracy is different there. Then another example would be when you're essentially interacting in a chat interface directly with a customer autonomously using AI. So would you want to make sure that, that the accuracy is high and then, like hallucinations and so forth are managed really, really well? Absolutely, when you're directly interacting with the customer. Are you able to, put some guardrails on the insight that's produced through, as you guys were mentioning, human in the loop, but just through an access to the analyst or the product leader that is asking for that insight? Absolutely, you can do that. So you don't want to spend necessarily, like, the premium on the top model there. So that's number one, the nature of the use case. The other is around where you are in the life cycle. Let's say, generally in the beginning of any idea and hypothesis, speed matters a lot. Right? You need to produce a proof of concept or a minimum viable product to demonstrate the value to the business or the customer of said idea. At that point, it's about how do you build out the guardrails so that you can test, the use case in a way that it doesn't, create a lot of risk, yet helps you identify unknowns, validate the hypothesis, and really iterate from there. So you definitely, at that point, it's a different question, and you generally would want to go with speed rather than take a waterfall approach and trying to be as protective as possible before even testing a hypothesis. So to me, those are the two key things to consider.
Got it. No, absolutely, I think. Sudipto,
No, yeah, very good points. I mean, between use cases, there will be difference of accuracy and speed, and you have to accept those. So it's not, 90% is not a set number. We have to look into what we are solving and what's the benefit we are giving and what is the satisfaction people are getting because of that speed of answers. And that is a big deal for the business. I think business is very happy if you can go with those kind of use cases, giving instead of putting analysts through the night, working till the end of the month, those kind of things. If you're getting things faster and faster, we are delivering those kind of use cases, and they're very happy with the delivery that they are giving. We are giving the previous night of a month end. They're very happy, so it's pretty good, I think.
Yeah, that's a pretty famous use case, right? Closing the books and being able to point out anomalies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Great. Okay, so changing gears a bit, right? How do you communicate or set expectations with your leadership, with your executives on what AI will or will not do. Right? Sudeep, do you want to?
Yeah, so, that's a very interesting conversation, first of all. The reason is everybody is talking to the leaders, and you are too. So you have to understand like where they come from, who are they talking to, what are these folks telling them? Are they talking to the Google SLT or the AWS SLT, and you are trying to get a point across that this is going to add. So you have to understand the whole context, who the leaders are talking to, and then simplify, because they will obviously give you an order, go do it. Like you have to understand, like, is it possible, or at this point, or what is the cost, what is the timeline? People talk about doing things without understanding the timeline, right? So it is obviously very important to have that continuous conversation and tell them that these are the things that are approved within the company. They don't always look at the technology, what is approved, what is not. I mean, in the cloud world, there are a lot of things still not approved to use in the AI world, right? At least not in our company. So we go through a process of vetting to get them approved. And certain use cases you can deliver, certain you cannot. You have to wait, right? Or you have to bring a whole set of technologies from outside, which will also go through a very painful vetting process. So this technology vetting thing is a very important thing. So we have to, so obviously, then you cannot say that we are stopped because of vetting or something like that. So we have to have a very good, documented conversation with quarter by quarter that this is what you're going to deliver, and they can move on with it and have that, and make sure that you also have the conversation with those folks who are talking to your SLT, the Google technology people, who Google, in our case Google, also AWS, they come and talk, and we have to make sure we influence them also to bring a product early and influence their product roadmap so that we can deliver something that is valuable to the company. Your points I'd like to hear.
Go for it, Mustafa.
If you'd like to go first, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. I think from my end, I think, like we were kind of discussing previously as well, we are in a very hype-driven situation as well, right? So I almost like to joke with my team, we often used to show aspirationally what can be done with AI, but now our job has become grounding the leaders on what actually can be done, right? And what can be done well versus what is going to be an experiment versus a POC versus a prototype, right? So I think there are a couple of factors here, at least the way we think of it. One is we are constantly on the lookout for use cases that I think give us an opportunity to leverage something new, right? So within the Mars ecosystem, for example, we have established something called the North America AI Lab, right? So, and the construct within that AI lab, what we end up doing is leveraging it to experiment and fail fast, right? And do any POCs. And pretty much anyone from the technical team, be it a data engineer, a data scientist, software engineers, right? They all have access to the lab. There's both a physical construct and a virtual construct to it. But that's where, you get X number of credits, cloud credits, all of that, to kind of sit and kind of experiment and toy around with any new technologies. So we have leveraged that quite effectively to kind of determine what we do, where do our skill set gaps lie. And also, a lot of the conversations are around, hey, we can do this, but this is the skill set that we'll need to bring in that doesn't exist anymore, for example, right? Or these are the kind of trainings that we need to kind of conduct if we want, because we know we can create an effective product, but it's only as good if it's adopted well. So these are the kind of trainings that need to be done to adopt this kind of a product, because it's one of a kind or the first of its kind within our environment, right? So there are these kind of aspects that we always bring in addition to what you mentioned. Mustafa?
Would you mind repeating the question for me, just to make sure I answer it directly?
Right. It was to set expectations with leadership on what AI can or cannot do.
Yeah. So I will say first and foremost, like this may be a surprise to some, but for me, apart from infrastructure management, like an AI or data science leader should be a business leader first. So that, which means is that they should first, they have a responsibility to understand the strategic pursuit of each and every department that they're supporting, and have a perspective on then how AI can support. So if we were to be, if we were to be having a conversation with a senior leader in any company, you know, what if we can speak their language, they will want to listen to us, because at the end of the day, you know, AI again is a means to an end. So understanding the vision, understanding the roadmap, understanding what really the, you know, the product is in pursuit of, and then saying, going back, and after truly listening and understanding and questioning what is really the desired customer experience that the leadership wants to achieve, or the operational process, then we're saying, okay, you know what is the role for AI through these different steps of the journey? And then, you know, to your point earlier, I think both of you talked about, you know, how can we test fast and really demonstrate value? Because often what I will say, apart from being a business leader, what we also know is that truly you need an extent to be able to feel and look at something, you know, to truly appreciate the opportunity. And I think that's where AI can often struggle, because if an idea is abstract, it's very hard in this information age to differentiate between, hey, there's 40 good ideas that are coming at me. But if you truly want to say, here's what, as your partner that you trust, that really understands your strategy, here's what I'm recommending. If you're able to make it tangible, non-technical, then it will have an impact. So that's what I would add to what both of you said.
I think, thanks for that, Mustafa. Great point on being able to speak the functional language, so to speak, right, with the leaders. Yeah, goes a long way in establishing trust. All right. So in this, Mustafa, we'll start with you. What role do pilots or proof of concepts play in your AI investment strategy?
I mean, again, some of these questions are related, but I would say that they're crucial. And I think that's where there's a few things. So I think the question is not whether they're valuable or not. I think it's without question, they're critical to the process. Again, because explaining someone the technical nature of a solution is not going to impress them. Saying, you know, and that you're going to achieve something in an abstract kind of, evidence, it's not going to be successful. So they're crucial. To me, the question is that how do you actually invest in that while you have roadmaps where your resources are already assigned? So I would say that to that end, if I were to say, absolutely, that's important. Generally, what's valuable is to have an alignment with your partners and leaders from the business side that, hey, we're going to deliver on the existing, defined roadmap, but we've aligned that in parallel, the AI teams are going to work at a partial allocation to explore the art of the possible. And not just for interest, but really towards those roadmaps and those visions that are essentially the partners have defined. If that happens, then you have a bit of flexibility to actually pursue those, so that you're not just creating extra burden on the teams by saying, hey, you know what, you have a full-time job, but I also would like you to build these proof of concepts. So I think it's kind of how do you operationalize proof of concepts and testing hypotheses is the bigger question than if they're valuable or not, which to me, it's obvious that they're valuable.
Absolutely. Sudeep?
Sure. About the roadmap, again, I look into it in two different ways. One is the business organization's AI roadmap, what they want to see or do, which is at a little bit higher level, which is very important, right, to understand what lift they want from the AI technology in which areas, right, to understand that. The other piece I'm going to also talk about on the technology front, right? With the evolution of the AI technology, I think what is happening is things that are coming in are getting also obsolete in ways, at least in the cloud world. It is getting, and we have to understand that what was called this in Q4 of 2024, in Q2 of 2025 is called differently, it works differently. So there is a constant grooming of the roadmap, the technical roadmap that is happening in my org, so that we make sure that we are current with the evolution, right? And we are doing POCs of worth, right? So we always have to do POCs, otherwise we won't be able to see what the true value of that component or service or the product that is being delivered to us, right? And then we try to look at, okay, what this will match, what this will fit to the business problem that was set by the business. So that is a continuous conversation that is happening. My favorite term at one point last year was POC graveyard, which means there's a lot of POCs happening and it's not seeing the light of day. I think things have changed because, I mean, things have settled a little bit. And we are doing some very good successful POCs. We are doing what is called the AI and analytics challenges, which is also generating a lot of ideas, and everybody's working on it. So we have democratized AI in that way, and those ideas are flowing in, and we are collecting those ideas and kind of stitching together the teams, and it's a team sport at the end of the day in this area. So we are invoking all of that and then grooming our roadmap to deliver something really, really useful for the business.
Totally. I think, especially when we talk about the role of pilots or POCs. I mean, there's obviously an experimentation angle to it, but I think more importantly, I think there's also a cultural component to it, right? I think there is an aspect where you can allow, not so technical folks to actually come in and be a part of a technical program or a technical session, right? And this is at least one way that we are looking at leveraging. I mentioned the lab a little bit before, but in general, POCs, right? Typically, they're going to be high risk, and typically, that mentality of fail fast is there. So it also allows us to kind of have unusual partners with not so technical people to come in and see how this entire thing kind of operates. Great. So, if you're starting over with AI, right? So a little aspirational, but if you're starting over with AI, what would you do differently? Right, and Sudeep, if you don't mind.
Okay. That's a tough question. I think, the most important thing to me is the data foundation. Good data, quality data delivered every day. So another thing that I say is data needs to be delivered nice, fresh, and healthy, like breakfast every day morning, 9 a.m. kind of thing. So that is something we have, I believe in. We have practiced it, and that is today. It's delivering good analytics. Now, talking about AI, the other thing that we have not focused, and it's again a team sport, where our business teams, the source systems, have to have good metadata, which needs to flow into our AI systems. Because when we are writing code for Gen AI, the entire interpretation of prompting or the context setting is from the metadata. And we are realizing more and more of that, and we are trying to influence the right parties to help us build the metadata, which is actually going to scale the Gen AI landscape quite a bit. So that's one thing I think, and other than that, I think it's very hard to get into a conversation where you can influence early on your senior leadership to do few things differently. Because we are all learning, even last 1 year. So that's pretty much what I would say we could do more. Yeah.
I think great point, right? Also, I think in addition to everything you said, Sudeep, I think we are in a very new world, right? A brave new world, so to speak, where now I think companies that are just starting off, let's say, as what you'd call AI native, or that are starting off with this whole technology prowess behind them, right? And now have, I think, the unique opportunity to scale a lot faster than a company did 10, 15, 50 years back, right? So I think scalability has become, is not as much of a challenge as it would be, even 5 to 7 years back, right? Now, for example, also in terms of infrastructure, right? Storage costs are super low. compute costs are still high, but it's just a matter of time before that dips as well. So I think the parameters of success have completely changed, in my opinion. And for example, I was actually having this discussion with one of my product leaders, and one of the things she's looking to do is, instead of creating business requirement documents, she's like, why don't we just vibe code prototypes and show you what we want? And then you can start thinking about building applications from there versus creating these lengthy documents with specifications, so on and so forth. It's not something we have yet started. I think in a week or two we will. So I'll let you guys know how that goes. But I think it's a very interesting and new way of kind of leveraging everything that's happening around us. Yeah.
That's a great point. Yeah, interesting. I mean, yeah, POCs are also taking time. We have to find POC resources. And if we could automate some of those, functions, then that would be great. And maybe that's a very important conversation with our technology vendors, right? How can we do that and proceed together? The other thing, a little bit connected, but not exactly what your point is. Like we are hearing AI first conversation. I think it's a very difficult conversation, AI first. What I am seeing is AI should be in the middle, not first. So make sure your business processes are right. It can be solved by automation, and then look into AI. That would be my, if you start with AI, then it will, so understanding the business problem, try to see what else can solve it. Because I am getting also, talking about the last point about grooming the roadmap, ideas and cases which can be solved by simple data and analytics. And you don't have to do a heavy, programming of some kind with models or LLMs or things like that. So to me, AI should be in the middle of solving things, and not always the first thing.
Absolutely, right. As I think, Mustafa, you mentioned as well, means to the end, right? It's so critical that, you're solving a program or solving a business problem, and then you decide the methodology, whether it's Gen AI, LLMs, agentic, what have you, traditional AI, right? And many times, I would say the world still runs on, ML models, right? Deterministic models. But obviously now Gen AI has all the buzz, so let's see how something that's probabilistic works with something that's deterministic.
Yeah, I agree with the infrastructure part. So I would say three things. It's a very interesting question. First and foremost, I would say having the data accessible, metadata, the capabilities that you need to actually, the engine that you need to build AI, capabilities or use cases. So absolutely. The two others that we may have not talked about is one, I would like to be the architecture modular. So what that means is that we're able to pick and choose specific pieces of the architecture and the ecosystem, and then replace it. For example, we know that the path we're headed on, let's take an example of large language models. Every month, there's a change in which model is leading in what capability. The good thing about, I also tell the teams, the bad thing is that we don't have the type of budget to build our own large language models and focus on that, like, the tech giants do. But the advantage we have is that we don't need to be married to one. Right? And so that's, to me, a very important part. If I had the option, is to approach it that way. The third thing I will say is that I would, with partners like you were earlier saying, just make the effort of reimagining processes. Like, what would this process look like if we could apply the reasoning and autonomous action capabilities of AI, and then say, oh, you know what? Is this just interesting, or is it going to deliver us scale? Is it going to be cost efficient? Is it going to be a better, more personalized experience for the customer? And then, because we're talking about a blank slate, we like kind of redefine the solution from the ground up. So those are a couple of additions I would make to the question.
Fantastic. I think some really good discussion points here. So I'll make this my last question, right? So if you were to kind of summarize, your not only our discussion here, but in general, in a one-liner, on what you think is the most critical element when it comes to AI ROI. What is that one thing you would focus on, or one line you would like to summarize with?
You want me to go back?
Yeah,
Okay.
Sudeep, please.
First of all, you will hear this that everybody is doing AI, and that's somewhat a true statement. Like all new applications that are being rolled out, they come with an AI component, right? So we have to look on those components also, and not build something. So there are certain AI out of the box. And again, AI, loosely used AI, I think we have to look at, Salesforce is bringing AI, ServiceNow is bringing AI in their application. So there are a lot of things, call center applications are bringing their own AI. We did CCAIP implementation, which is the call center application from Google. So we are using all of that, the AI capabilities, we are looking at it, we are conscious about those things. But anywhere we have to stitch from systems and come out with some impactful answer that AI can deliver, I think we are looking into our internal tooling to build it and deliver it. So I will leave it at that. Like, look at, it's a team sport. Look at, find people, enable AI with an open mind for all the users of those applications. Make sure they are looking at the AIs. The tooling that's available. We are also looking at some of the Tableau Cloud and all of that. They're bringing the AI pieces. They are bringing their own agents. We are invoking those. We have started discussing to invoke all of those. And with almost, it is baked into the license. So you should use it, right? So use AI as much as possible internally within the captive tooling, and then go outside and build something enterprise. I would say.
Yep, great point. Mustafa?
Sure. So I will, for me, this answer is actually non-technical in nature. Really, to me, what I would say is that three things. First of all, demonstrating the passion to leadership and partners that you're truly in it to deliver the outcomes that are going to move the business forward in whatever shape or form and whatever OKR is defined, number one. Then building the relationship so that the partners understand that truly that you're in it not for your department or your team gain, but rather you're a participant in the collective journey with all parts of what needs to be successful: user experience, product, engineering, whatever else, legal, whoever else may be involved. You're not operating in a silo, but you're actually looking to really, provide a boost to the team with the capabilities of AI. And then the third would be the trust through these relationships and this passion. For me, the goal would be that a leader doesn't question the technical approach you're going to take, but rather trust that if they explain the desired outcome and the business opportunity, you're going to do your homework with whether it's working with vendors, whether it's working with internal teams and so forth, to come up with the single or multiple viable solutions with pros and cons that can help them be successful. So to me, this is how I would kind of take this question and really make it about like the partnership and the relationships that matter behind the scenes.
Great. So Sudeep, you talked about, everything that, everything leveraging all the inherent capabilities now that are present in almost every, every organization, right? Or every enterprise tool out there. And, Mustafa, I think great point on, actually being able to build those relationships and trust, because it's all ultimately there, right? Them being able to trust you to deliver on any sort of functional commitment. I think the only thing I would probably add, because you guys made such great points, would be around breaking of silos, right? I think in my career so far, I would say that has been one inherently frustrating element for me, right? And I think with how popular AI is now, right? And it's only become that much easier because the true power of AI comes in actually breaking down silos as you scale it, right? And that's something we are very purposefully doing. And hopefully, I think we'll be able to see a lot more success than at least I've seen previously around this particular aspect.
Love the silo spot, yeah.
Great. With that, I think we're wrapping up. Thank you so much, Mustafa, Sudipto.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks everyone for your time.